The jungle on planet Zyril was not quiet. It breathed. It whispered. It watched Daniel move slowly, his boots sinking into soft moss. He had come here for a research mission, nothing more. Strange energy readings had drawn him from his ship to the thickest part of the forest. His scanner kept beeping, showing spikes he didn't understand. The air was heavy with the smell of wet leaves and something sweeter. Almost like flowers, but thicker, richer. It clung to his nose. It made him feel uneasy. He looked up. The tall trees blocked most of the light. Thin streaks of sunlight pierced through the green roof, but they did nothing to make him feel safe. Somewhere above, a flock of strange birds screamed before flying away. Something had scared them. Daniel adjusted the strap of his bag and kept walking. The readings on his scanner were stronger now. Then he saw them deep claw marks on the side of a tree. They were long, sharp, and too high for any normal animal. He felt a cold shiver down his back. Probably just an old mark, he told himself, but his voice was too quiet. Even he didn't believe his own words. The jungle grew darker the deeper he went. The air seemed thicker, harder to breathe. It was as if the forest was trying to slow him down. Every few minutes, he stopped to listen. First, there was nothing. But then, footsteps, not the clumsy crash of a large animal. No, these were soft, careful, almost playful. Daniel turned sharply, scanning the shadows. Nothing. He moved faster. The beeping on his scanner was loud now. He was close to the source of the energy, but he was also close to something else. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw movement. A shape, tall, lean. It slipped between the trees with grace, almost like it was dancing. Daniel's heart started to pound. The beeping on his scanner stopped. The screen went black. He tapped it, but it didn't turn on again. Someone was jamming the signal. The forest went silent. Completely silent. Even the insects stopped. Then he heard it soft and slow, a woman's voice. Deep and smooth, with a strange purring sound under the words. You smell so sweet. I wonder how you taste. Daniel froze. Every muscle locked. The voice had come from behind him, close enough that he could feel a faint breath against his ear. He spun around. Nothing. Only the trees. Swaying gently, he took a step back, gripping the handle of his sidearm, but not drawing it yet. Who's there? He demanded. A low, amused laugh answered him from the shadows. You are small, the voice said, but fast. I like fast prey. Daniel's grip tightened. Prey. She had called him prey. His eyes scanned the trees, searching for movement, for anything. Then he saw her for a second, perched on a thick branch high above him. She was tall, even crouched. Her skin had strange patterns that shifted with the shadows, blending into the leaves. Her hair was long and dark, falling over one shoulder, and her eyes. They glowed faintly, golden like molten metal. She smiled at him, revealing sharp, perfect teeth. Then she was gone. Daniel stepped back again, his heart beating too fast. He tried to remember the map of the jungle, the way back to his ship, but his mind was foggy. You are far from home. Her voice purred again, this time from the left. No pack, no weapons drawn. Are you brave or foolish? I'm not. Here for trouble, Daniel said, his voice steady but low. I'm just exploring. Exploring, she repeated, as if tasting the word. I explore too. I explore what is soft and what bleeds. Daniel finally drew his sidearm. He aimed it toward the sound, but nothing moved. A faint rustle came from above. He looked up. There she was again, watching him with the same calm smile. Run, she whispered. His stomach tightened. Why? He asked. Her smile widened. Because. I want to see how fast you are before I catch you." Before Daniel could react, she dropped from the branch, landing without a sound. Her eyes never left his. For a moment, they stood still, to Huntress, but only one of them was playing a game. Then she tilted her head and breathed in deeply, like a predator enjoying the scent of a fresh kill. Daniel didn't wait. He turned and ran, the jungle closing around him. Behind him, he heard that low, dangerous purr. The hunt had begun. Daniel crashed through the undergrowth. Ducking under low branches, his breath loud in his ears. Every step seemed to echo in the jungle. The ground was soft and damp, making his boots sink just enough to slow him down. He didn't know where he was, running only away. But she wasn't chasing like a normal predator. There was no roar, no pounding footsteps. Instead, there was silence, and then her voice, so quick, but not quick enough. It came from ahead. Daniel froze. His chest rose and fell as he scanned the trees. He was sure she had been behind him. Now she was in front. A slow shape began to move from the shadows. She stepped into the dim light, tall and perfectly balanced, her body moving with the elegance of a dancer. Her skin was patterned in swirls and streaks that made her seem part of the jungle itself. The colors shifted with each small movement, blending into the leaves, then into the bark, then back into her own strange, beautiful form. Her eyes locked on him, golden, sharp, unblinking. Daniel took a step back. She smiled. It wasn't the smile of someone greeting a friend. It was the smile of someone who had just cornered their prey. "I thought you would run farther before I caught you," she purred. Her voice had a strange rhythm, almost hypnotic. Do humans not know how to survive? Daniel kept his weapon pointed at her. "I can survive just fine," he said, his tone low. "If you're smart, you'll stay where you are." Her smile widened, showing teeth that were too perfect, tanned, too sharp. "Oh, I am very smart," she said. "Smart enough to know that you won't shoot. Not yet." She began to walk in a slow circle around him, her movements quiet, almost soundless. Daniel turned with her, keeping his weapon aimed, but she moved like water, always slipping just out of his perfect aim. Up close, Daniel noticed details he hadn't before. The faint lines across her arms looked like scars from old battles. Her claws were long and black, curving slightly like blades. Her hair was thick and fell over one shoulder in dark waves, a sharp contrast to the jungle green patterns on her skin. Every few steps, she tilted her head slightly and sniffed the air, as if his scent was telling her something. "You smell like heat," she said softly, "like fear. And something else." "I'm not afraid of you," Daniel said, trying to sound confident. Her golden eyes lit with amusement. "Then you are a fool," she said simply. Suddenly, she lunged not to attack, but to close the distance in an instant. She stopped, just a breath away, her height forcing Daniel to tilt his head slightly to meet her gaze. Her purr was deeper now, vibrating in the space between them. "So small," she murmured. "So fragile. I could end you before you blink." Daniel's pulse hammered in his ears, but he didn't back away. "Then why don't you?" he asked. For the first time, her expression changed. Her smile faded into something unreadable, and her eyes narrowed slightly, studying him. "I like to know my prey before I take them," she said slowly. "The taste is always better when I understand what I am eating." Daniel forced himself to keep his breathing steady. "You think this is a game?" he said. "It is a game," she replied, and her smile returned, though it was sharper this time. "The game is simple. You survive until sunrise, and I let you live. If you fail, well..." She ran one claw lightly across the trunk of a nearby tree, leaving a deep, clean slash in the bark. "Then the jungle will be fed." Daniel swallowed. And if I refuse to play? Her head tilted, and she looked almost curious. Then I eat you now. For a long moment, they stood in silence. The jungle seemed to hold its breath. Finally, Daniel lowered his weapon slightly, not in surrender, but because he knew it wouldn't scare her. Fine, he said. I'll play. Her eyes brightened with satisfaction. Good, she purred. Run, little human. I will give you a head start. She stepped back into the shadows, her body fading into the patterns of the jungle, until she was gone. Only her voice remained, drifting through the trees. I will be watching. Daniel's muscles tensed. He didn't wait to see if she was still there. He turned and ran again, this time with a growing understanding. She wasn't just chasing him for hunger. She was studying him, and that might be even more dangerous. Daniel's lungs burned as he ran, but every step felt slower than before. The alien huntress had given him a head start, but he didn't believe for a second she was staying still. She was watching, maybe from above, maybe from the shadows, waiting. For the moment he slipped, the jungle felt alive in a way that made his skin crawl. Vines hung like snakes. Leaves whispered against each other as the wind shifted. Somewhere far away, an animal let out a high, sharp cry. Then was suddenly silent. Daniel stopped to catch his breath, pressing his back against a thick tree trunk. He listened. Nothing. No footsteps. No voice. That was worse. He checked the time on his wrist, device still hours until sunrise, if he could. Just keep moving, keep putting distance between them. Maybe she'd get bored. Maybe. But then, snap. A sound, soft but deliberate, came from the left. Daniel turned toward it, his pulse rising. His eyes scanned the undergrowth, searching for movement. That's when the first trap sprung. A thick vine shot up from the ground. Looping around his ankle and yanking him off his feet, he hit the dirt hard, air rushing from his lungs. The vine tightened, pulling him toward a clump of dark plants. The plants moved. They weren't plants at all. They were some kind of living creature, its wide mouth lined with rows of small, sharp teeth opening in a slow, wet grin. Daniel grabbed his knife and slashed the vine. It snapped, sending him rolling backward. He scrambled to his feet just as the thing lunged, its teeth snapping shut where his leg had been. From somewhere above, he heard a soft laugh. You're learning? The huntress purred. Good. Daniel spun, looking up into the trees, but he saw nothing. You set that trap. He shouted, another laugh. The jungle obeys me, little human. You walk where I allow you to walk. He kept moving, this time watching the ground carefully, but the traps came faster now. Thin branches snapped under his feet, triggering hidden snares that swung sharp stones from above. Pools of still water erupted with long, spiny creatures, trying to pierce his skin. Every time he escaped, her voice followed. Always calm, always amused. You run well. You think before you move. Maybe I will not eat you whole. Daniel's mind raced. She was testing him, not just chasing him. She wanted to see how he handled danger. Hours passed in a blur of running, dodging and avoiding death by inches. The moonlight filtered through the canopy in pale beams, and Daniel finally found himself in a small clearing. The air here was cooler, quiet, too quiet. He crouched low, scanning the tree line. Then she stepped out. No hiding this time. No blending into the shadows. She moved slowly, deliberately, her golden eyes locked on him. You are still alive, she said, her tone approving. I thought you would die in the first hour. Daniel kept his knife ready. Guess I disappointed. You? Her smile was slow and dangerous. No, you interest me. She circled him again, the way a cat might circle a cornered mouse. Most prey falls apart when the jungle turns against them. But you adapt. You fight. You survive. I told you, Daniel said, his voice steady. I can survive just fine. Her head tilted. Perhaps, but can you survive me? Before he could answer, she moved. One moment she was standing in front of him. The next, she was behind her. Claws grazing the back of his neck, lightly not cutting. Just reminding him how close she could get. You feel the fear, she whispered near his ear. But you don't let it control you. That makes the hunt sweeter. Daniel turned sharply, slashing with his knife. She leaped back with inhuman speed, laughing again. The laugh sent a chill through him. You are fun, she said simply. I hope you last until dawn. She stepped back into the shadows, her form melting away into the jungle once more. Daniel stood alone in the clearing, his chest rising and falling. He knew she was still watching. He knew the traps would keep coming, and he knew one more thing. This wasn't just a game for her. It was a test, and he had no idea. What would happen if he passed? Asterisk. The first pale light of dawn was beginning to touch the tops of the jungle trees when Daniel stumbled into a rocky clearing. His legs ached. His lungs felt like fire. Sweat ran down his face and neck, stinging his eyes. He had survived the night. Barely his clothes were torn from branches and blossomed his own doing. Some from the jungle's strange creatures. He carried 2 new cuts on his arm, but he was still alive. For the last hour, the Huntress had been silent. No voice in the shadows. No sudden movements in the trees. Just the quiet of the jungle waking up. Daniel leaned against a rock, breathing hard, scanning the tree line. Maybe she was gone. Maybe she had lost interest. Then a shadow moved. She stepped into the clearing. V-E-Y-R-A. Her tall, lean body seemed almost to glow in the new sunlight, the shifting patterns on her skin softening in the daylight. Her golden eyes were locked on him, unblinking, unreadable. She moved closer, not quickly, but with the same fluid grace she had shown all night. Daniel gripped his knife tighter, though he knew it wouldn't make much difference if she decided to kill him. It is dawn, she said softly. The game is over. Daniel straightened. So, that means I'm free. Vera tilted her head slightly. It means you survived. Her eyes swept over him slowly, not in hunger now, but in assessment. She seemed to be studying every scratch, every bruise, every tired movement. You are not like the others, she said finally. They scream. They beg. You fought. Daniel gave a short, tired laugh. Not much choice, was there? Her mouth curved into a faint smile. There is always a choice. She stepped closer, and before Daniel could react, her hand clawed but gentle touched his chin. She tilted his head slightly, her eyes locking on his. I could kill you now, she murmured. I know, he said, quietly. She studied his face for a long moment. Then her claws retracted, and she let her hand drop. But I will not. Daniel blinked. Why? Vera turned away from him, looking out toward the sunlit edge of the clearing. Because I hunt for challenge, not for need. And you gave me a challenge. She glanced back at him, her golden eyes bright. You interest me, human? Daniel frowned. So what now? You just let me walk away. Her lips curved again, this time into a smile that was almost playful. Yes. For now. She reached into a pouch at her side and tossed him a small, smooth object. Daniel caught it. It was a black stone, warm to the touch, carved with strange lines that pulsed faintly. What is it? He asked. A mark, she said simply. It tells others in the jungle that you are mine. No one hunts what is mine. Daniel looked at Her sharply, yours. Vera's smile deepened. You earned my mercy. That makes you minute till I decide otherwise. He wasn't sure whether to feel grateful or uneasy. And if I don't want to be yours? She laughed softly, a sound like purring. Then survive again without me. Her gaze lingered on him a moment longer. Then she stepped back into the trees. The sunlight caught her hair for just a second before the shadows swallowed her dot. Daniel stood there, breathing hard, the black stone heavy in his palm. She could have killed him. He knew that. Instead, she had given him water, given him life, and claimed him. As the jungle sounds slowly returned, he wondered if she had truly spared him out of respect, or if she was just keeping him alive to hunt again another day. 3 days had passed since Daniel's strange encounter with Vera. He had stayed away from the deeper jungle, working instead near the river to repair some equipment from his ship. Every now and then, he'd catch himself glancing at the tree line, half expecting to see those golden eyes watching him. But there was nothing. The black stone she had given him rested in his jacket pocket. He hadn't told anyone about it. He didn't even know why he kept it, maybe as proof that what happened was real. Maybe as a warning to himself. That morning, Daniel decided to check an old supply cache he had left about a mile upriver. The path was quiet at first, sunlight warming his shoulders, the sound of running water close by. Then he heard voices, not human voices. He slowed, crouching behind a thick tree trunk. Ahead, 3 alien scavengers stood near his supply crate. Their armor scratched and mismatched, their faces covered in bone-like masks. They were tall and broad, with long blades strapped to their backs. Daniel's first thought was to wait until they left. But then one of them kicked the crate open, spilling his gear onto the ground. Another picked up his scanner and smashed it against a rock. Perfect. Daniel muttered under his breath. He stepped out from cover, knife in hand. Hey, that's mine. All 3 turned toward him slowly. The one in the middle tilted his head. A human. His voice was low and full of surprise. You are far from your nest, little prey. Daniel tightened his grip. I'm not looking for trouble. The scavenger on the left laughed, a dry, unpleasant sound. Then you found the wrong place. Before Daniel could react, the one in the middle lunged forward, grabbing him by the front of his jacket and slamming him back against a tree. The impact knocked the air out of him. You carry no gun, the scavenger growled. You are weak. Daniel tried to shove him away, but the alien was too strong. The other 2 began to circle, blades half drawn. Then everything changed. The jungle went still, naturally still. The scavenger holding Daniel froze, his grip loosening slightly. His masked face turned toward the trees. From the shadows, a voice spoke. Put him down. Daniel's breath caught Vera. She stepped into the open, taller than all 3 scavengers, her golden eyes burning. The shifting patterns on her skin seemed darker now, sharper, more dangerous. The scavenger holding Daniel dropped him instantly and stepped back. This is not your hunt, Vera. The leader said carefully. Vera's gaze never left them. No one hunts what is mine. Daniel felt a strange chill at her words, remembering when she had said them in the clearing. The leader tried to stand his ground. He is unmarked, he is marked. Vera snapped. Her voice had changed. It was no longer playful or purring. It was a deep, commanding growl that seemed to make the air heavier. She took one slow step forward, and the scavengers took one back. You will leave, she said. Now, for a tense moment, no one moved. Then the leader made a sharp hand motion, and the 3 scavengers melted back into the jungle, vanishing without another word. The silence that followed was thick. Vera turned her eyes on Daniel. You! Wander too far from safety. I didn't think that is your problem, she interrupted. Daniel straightened, brushing dirt from his jacket. I didn't ask you to save me. Her mouth curved into that dangerous smile he remembered. All too well. No, you didn't have to. She stepped closer, her gaze sharp. You carry my mark. That means your life is mine to endure to protect. Daniel's hand went to the black stone in his pocket. And if I throw this away? Her smile vanished. Then I let them finish what they started. The words weren't loud, but they were cold enough to sink into his bones. For a moment, they just stared at each other. The air between them tense and electric. Finally, Vera stepped back. You are alive because I allow it, Daniel. Remember that? Then she turned and walked into the jungle without looking back, disappearing into the shadows as if she had never been there at all. Daniel stood alone in the clearing, the sound of the river returning slowly to his ears. She had saved him, but it didn't feel like mercy. It felt like possession. The night air on Zero was cool, carrying the scent of wet leaves and distant flowers. Daniel sat by a small fire near the riverbank, watching the flames shift and dance. He had been unable to sleep since the encounter with the scavengers earlier that day. He kept replaying the moment in his head, how they had him cornered. How? Vera had appeared from the shadows like a living blade. How they had run without question when she spoke. She hadn't just saved him. She had commanded them. Daniel's fingers rolled the black stone between them. It was warm again, the carved lines faintly glowing in the firelight. A sound behind him made him turn sharply. Vera was standing there, silent as the night, watching him. The firelight touched the golden in her eyes, making them seem even brighter. You don't sleep, she said, her voice smooth but quieter than usual. Daniel put the stone back in his pocket. Hard to sleep when I don't know if I'm being hunted or protected. She tilted her head. You are not being hunted. Not by me. Daniel gave a short laugh. Forgive me if I don't feel safe. Vera stepped closer. The patterns on her skin shifting in slow waves. Safety is a weak word, human. I could give it to you, but it would make you soft. I would rather give you truth. Daniel leaned back slightly, still holding her gaze. Then tell me, what is all of this? Why mark me? Why save me from the scavengers? For a long moment, she didn't answer. Her eyes flicked toward the fire, then back to him. I am Vera of the Orth, she said finally, the last huntress of my kind. Daniel frowned. Last, she nodded slowly. Once, my people ruled the jungles of Zero. We hunted the greatest beasts, the fiercest warriors. We were feared, respected, worshipped. But time changes all things. My people grew lazy. They hunted the weak, the slow. The challenge died. So did they. Her voice had changed, less playful, more like steel wrapped in silk. I remained, she continued. I kept the old ways. I hunt not for hunger, but for worth. Daniel's brow furrowed. Worth. Vera stepped closer, her shadow crossing the firelight. Every being is born with a spirit. Some are strong, others fragile. I test that spirit. If it breaks, I take the body. If it endures, her golden eyes narrowed, I claim it. Daniel shook his head slightly. Claim it, you mean? Like you claimed me? Yes, she said simply, 'cause you passed the first hunt. The first? Daniel's voice carried both surprise and unease. So there's more. Vera's lips curved into the faintest smile. Always more. The jungle is only the beginning. The true hunt is in the heart when fear and desire fight for control. Daniel studied her in the flickering light. And what do you want from me in this true hunt? Her gaze softened, though the intensity never left her eyes. I want to see how far you will go, how much you will endure. If you can stand beside a huntress, not as prey, but as equal." He let out a short breath. "And if I can't?" Smile returned, sharp as ever. "Then the jungle will remember your bones." For a long moment, the only sound was the crackle of the fire. Daniel finally spoke. "Why me? There must be hundreds of other prey out there." Vera crouched slightly, her face level with his, her golden eyes searching his. "Because you ran when you could have frozen. You fought when you could have begged. You looked into the eyes of the predator, and you stayed standing. That is rare." Daniel didn't answer. He didn't trust his voice to be steady. Vera straightened, glancing toward the dark jungle beyond the firelight. "The scavengers will not return. The mark tells them you are mine. But there will be others, stronger, faster. And I will not always be here to pull you from their claws." Her gaze returned to him, and for the first time, it wasn't playful or mocking. It was serious. "If you want to live, you must learn the hunt." Daniel gave a small nod. "And you'll teach me." Vera's smile deepened, and for just a moment, it almost seemed warm. "Yes, starting tomorrow. But understand this, human, every lesson will be a test. Pass them, and you may stand beside me. Fail, and you will not see another sunrise." Without another word, she turned and melted back into the darkness, her form vanishing as if she had never been there. Daniel sat alone by the fire, his heart still pounding, the black stone heavy in his pocket. He finally knew who she was, but he still didn't know if he was her student for her next meal. The days that followed blurred into a mix of exhaustion and danger. Vera's lessons were nothing like Daniel expected. She didn't just teach him how to move silently through the jungles, she forced him to live like a predator. He learned how to read the smallest signs in the ground, how to spot a hidden nest from the curve of leaves, how to hold his breath so long that even the air seemed to forget him. She made him climb trees until his arms burned, made him cross rivers full of unseen shapes, made him fight creatures whose teeth and claws could tear him apart in seconds. Every lesson had the same unspoken rule. If he failed, he wouldn't get a second chance. But something strange happened. Each day, Vera's voice lost some of its mockery. Her eyes lingered longer on him, not as if she were sizing up prey, but as if she were measuring something else. Respect, maybe, curiosity, and each day, Daniel found himself watching her too. Not just her skill, the way she moved through the jungle like part of it, but the way her laughter softened when she wasn't trying to intimidate him. The way her voice dropped lower when they spoke in quiet moments. Still, he never forgot what she had told him. Every lesson was a test. On the 7th night of training, everything changed. The sky glowed faintly red with the light of the twin moons. Daniel was sleeping in the shelter they had built when a strange sound woke him, a distant hum. Low but steady. He knew that sound. A human dropship. He scrambled out, scanning the sky through the gaps in the leaves. Far above, he saw the lights. Rescue craft from his people. Before he could shout or signal, Vera stepped from the shadows. "They are here for you," she said simply. Daniel's chest tightened. "I have to go to them. They'll think I'm dead." She finished for him. "You were. The human who came to Ziril is gone. The one who stands here now is something else." Daniel stared at her. "I'm still me." Vera took a slow step closer. "You have changed. You see the jungle differently. You move differently. You think differently. That is my mark as much as the stone you carry." He reached into his pocket, holding up the black stone. "If I give this back, does that mean I'm free?" Her golden eyes locked on his. "Free," she repeated, as if testing the word. You can walk to them, they will take you away. You will breathe their clean air, eat their dull food, and you will forget the hunt. And if I stay? He asked quietly. Her voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. Then you will be mine, not as prey, but as my equal. You will walk the jungle as I do, hunt as I do, live as I do, and, perhaps, in time, rule it beside me. The hum of the dropship grew louder. Daniel could almost see its searchlights cutting through the trees in the distance. This isn't fair, he said, his voice tight. You saved me. You trained me. And now you want me to choose between my people and me, she finished. Again, her gaze unwavering. The air between them felt heavy, charged. Vera stepped closer until she was only inches away. The shifting patterns on her skin caught the moonlight, and her scent wild, sharp, and strangely sweet filled his senses. You know what I am, she murmured. You know what I could have done to you, and yet you are still here. That tells me what I need to know. Daniel's pulse was loud in his ears. And what's that? Her lips curved into the faintest smile. That you already made your choice. Even if you don't want to admit it. Somewhere beyond the trees, a flare burst in the air, his rescue team calling for him. Vera's eyes glowed brighter in the red moonlight. Go to them, and the hunt is over. Stay, and it never ends. Daniel looked from her to the distant light, then back again. His breath came slow and deep. He stepped forward. So close now he could see the tiny reflections of the fire they had built together in her eyes. Her voice was barely a whisper. Well, human, who claims you? The jungle seemed to hold its breath. The dropship's engines roared closer. Vera's golden eyes never left his. Daniel's answer would decide everything. The screen faded to black before we heard it.